Good afternoon. Our government is going further to keep roads safe in Ontario, protect vulnerable road users, and improve protections and standards for consumers and businesses. Earlier today, our government introduced the Moving Ontarians More Safely Act, also known as the MOMS Act. If passed, this act would increase penalties for stunt driving, street racing, and other high-risk driving behaviors. Plus tôt aujourd'hui, notre gouvernement a présenté la loi de 2021 visant à assurer à la population ontarienne des déplacements plus sûrs, qui, si elle est adoptée, augmentera les peines pour la conduite acrobatique, les courses de rue et autres comportements de conduite à risque. The Act would enhance protections for vulnerable road users and consumers, improve commercial vehicle and highway worker safety, and strengthen the province's oversight of the towing and vehicle storage sectors. This legislation sends a clear message to drivers. Driving is a privilege, and those who threaten the safety of others have no place on our roads. At the start of this pandemic, our roads witnessed a significant decrease in traffic levels. But unfortunately, many drivers took these open roads as an invitation to put their foot down on the gas pedal. Between March 1st and December 31st last year, police laid a total of 796 stunt driving charges in the City of Toronto alone. That's an increase of 222% over the same period in 2019. Across Ontario, charges for stunt driving increased 52% between this past March and August 2020 over the same period in 2019, despite far fewer vehicles on the road. Young drivers specifically account for 42% of drivers involved in collisions with a police-recorded speed of 50 kilometers per hour or more above the posted speed limit. As both Minister of Transportation and as a mom to driving-age teens, this trend is unsettling and one that we are taking very seriously. My colleague, Kinga Surma, will address stunt driving in further detail in just a few minutes. The MOMS Act is not just about the action that we are taking against stunt driving and other high-risk driving behaviors. As part of this legislation, we are embracing new technologies and methods of collecting the data that we need to inform our choices and strengthen safety on Ontario's roads. Cette loi ne concerne pas seulement les mesures que nous prenons contre la conduite acrobatique et les autres comportements de conduite à risque. Dans le cadre de cette loi, nous adoptons de nouvelles technologies et méthodes de collecte des données dont nous avons besoin pour éclairer nos choix et renforcer la sécurité sur les routes de l'Ontario. If passed, this act will also set out new standards for e-bikes. These changes directly respond to the concerns that we heard from the public and our municipal partners about the safety impacts of new, larger e-bikes sharing bike paths, lanes, and sidewalks with other cyclists and pedestrians. We're introducing an automated camera enforcement framework for streetcars that will allow transit agencies to submit photo evidence of vehicles that illegally pass streetcars when they pick up or drop off passengers. We've seen far too many incidents where vulnerable people are injured when they're stepping off of a streetcar. That's not only unacceptable, but it's also preventable. The Moving Ontarians More Safely Act would also introduce enhanced measures to improve commercial vehicle and highway worker safety. By permitting the use of automated flagger assistance devices, we will reduce the risk to construction workers on our roads and highways due to dangerous driving behaviors. For example, we've all seen construction workers on the road holding a stop sign to reduce 2 lanes down to 1. Automated flagger assistance devices will provide another tool to enhance the safety of workers while they are doing their jobs. The Moving Ontarians More Safely Act, if passed, will also strengthen the province's oversight of the towing sector by creating a new Towing and Storage Safety and Enforcement Act. Just last month, I stood here at Queen's Park alongside the Solicitor General and OPP Commissioner Thomas Carrick to announce the launch of a joint forces operation team to address the violence in the towing industry and to introduce a tow zone pilot on designated sections of provincial highways. The MOMS Act builds on this. It will establish the framework for provincial oversight of the towing and storage sector, a key recommendation from our towing task force, which was established last year. And it will set standards for roadside behavior and require towing companies, tow truck drivers, and vehicle storage operators to be certified under the Act and meet prescribed requirements. La loi de 2021, visant à assurer à la population ontarienne des déplacements plus sûrs, s'appuie sur ces mesures. Elle établira le cadre de la surveillance provinciale du secteur du remorquage et de l'entreposage. Une recommandation clé de notre groupe de travail sur le remorquage qui a été créé l'année dernière. Et elle établira des normes de comportement sur le côté de la route et exigera que les entreprises de remorquage, les conducteurs de dépanneuses et les exploitants d'entrepôts de véhicules soient certifiés en vertu de la loi et répondent aux exigences prescrites. These changes will protect customers and give them the confidence that when they're waiting by the side of the road for a tow, a capable and reputable tow truck driver will be there to help. This legislation is a big step forward, and one of the many measures our government will work on as we improve the safety on our roads. One final thing I'd like to mention as a mom is the work that we're doing now to combat distracted driving. We'll be launching a social media campaign to educate the public on distracted driving next month. We have been tracking behaviors and attitudes towards distracted driving since 2011, and we're undergoing a survey that is also set to be complete next month. This survey will inform our further work on this issue as we continue to find more ways to improve our roads. I'd now like to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Kinga Surma, Associate Minister of Transportation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Mulrooney. The alarming trends the Minister shared demonstrates existing penalties and sanctions are no longer effective in deterring stunt driving, street racing, and other dangerous driving practices from taking place on our roads and highways. That's why the Moving Ontarians More Safely Act contains measures to combat these aggressive driving behaviors. For example, under the proposed legislation, drivers caught street racing will immediately face a 30-day roadside driver's license suspension and a 14-day roadside vehicle impoundment. These are substantial increases to the existing penalties that send a strong message to reckless drivers. Your behavior will not be tolerated. Our government is determined to keep Ontario's roads amongst the safest in North America. The MOMS Act is a vital continuation of the work Ontario is doing to strengthen road safety. Under Premier Ford's leadership, we've been in support of extending the 7-day impoundment and license suspension penalty. Since day one, we have been vocal. And like the Premier himself said last June, we will not sit by and do nothing while drivers are found speeding well over the limit and being reckless on our roads. Our message is clear. Drivers who put lives at risk are on our radar. We will not stand for their careless disregard for the general public. It's not just about street racing. We're also dedicated to fighting other forms of unsafe driving habits, such as distracted driving. The measures included in the Moving Ontarians More Safely Act target the bad actors on Ontario's roads who put everyone's safety at risk and help protect vulnerable road users like pedestrians and highway construction workers. We know that responsible driving makes roads safer for everyone. That is why MTO monitors trends in driving behaviors so that when we see trends of concern, we can make changes to the rules and penalties to make sure everyone is safe. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ontario Solicitor General Sylvia Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Surma. Ontario's tow truck drivers play a critical role in keeping our roads safe and supporting the flow of traffic on our highways. They clear our roadways after an accident and respond when Ontarians are stranded on the side of the road and call for help. They are a vital part of keeping Ontario moving. But they have been operating in an industry that lacks oversight and structure, and where too many criminals have been making their own rules, putting public safety at risk. That is why, last year, our government established a provincial tow task force to help make the industry safer and respond to recent violence. Based on the findings and recommendations of the province's towing task force released earlier this year, the Moving Ontario More Safely Act, if passed, would strengthen the province's oversight of the towing sector by creating the Towing and Enforcement Safety Act. As mentioned by Minister Mulroney, the proposed act would require tow operators, tow truck drivers, and vehicle store operators to be certified and meet prescribed requirements and standards to practice in Ontario. Set standards for consumer protection and roadside behaviors, including penalties for non-compliance. And finally, establish a Director of Towing and Vehicle and Storage Standards to provide oversight. If passed, these changes would protect consumers by granting the enabling legislative authority to require to introduce a comprehensive oversight model and licensing for tow truck drivers and operators. Today's announcement also builds on our government's recent action to form a joint forces operation team led by the OPP in conjunction with several municipal police services. The Joint Forces Operation Team is supporting our government's plan to create a safer working environment for legitimate tow businesses and by reducing the opportunity for fraud, corruption, and criminal activity. Putting a stop to criminal activity on our roadsides means Ontarians can have confidence in knowing a tow truck operator acting with integrity and within the law will be there to help and get you to a safe place. Our communities deserve no less. Ontarians must feel safe while driving across our province, and they must feel confident that they will be treated fairly and safely when they need towing services. The steps taken today will ensure that the safety and well-being of Ontarians is central to the future of this industry that is so important to our economy. By working together, we can make our roads and roadsides safer for everyone. Thank you. Merci.
We'll take questions from the phone. As a reminder, to ask a question, please press *1.
First question comes from Natalie Kalata at CBC News. Please go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. Just a quick question here for Minister Jones in regard to the provincial government now making that formal request for the Canadian Forces to provide support to deal with this critical care surge in the province. Just kind of curious what kind of logistical and operational needs are being requested and how many people have been requested.
So the request for assistance, and I thank the federal government for approving it, is for, as you say, Canadian Armed Forces. The request for assistance doesn't get into a specific number, but what we are looking for is very specialized nurses that can help out in our intensive care unit beds and medical personnel that can assist our hospitals that are seeing disturbing rises in cases of COVID-19, both in our hospital and ICU.
Follow up?
When was this request formally made?
On Friday, this weekend.
Seeing no further questions at this time.
Thank you.